Imagine waking up in a prison, but not the kind with bars, guards, and concrete walls. No, this prison is different. You can move freely. You have a job, entertainment, social interactions. You can buy things, dream about the future, and even feel happy from time to time. It seems like you are free, but something feels off. You sense that something is controlling you, shaping your choices, limiting your life, but you can't see it. You go to work, pay your bills, scroll through your phone, and go to sleep, all while feeling that deep, unshakable emptiness. And yet, when you look around, you realize everyone else is living the same way. Nobody is questioning it. Nobody seems alarmed. This is just life, right? But what if I told you that your life is not truly your own? That everything you've been told about success, happiness, and meaning has been carefully designed to control you, not by a dictator, not by some evil mastermind, but by a system so powerful, so invisible, that it does not need bars to hold you inside. Because if a prisoner is conditioned to love his chains, he will never seek to escape. The illusion of freedom. We live in a time where people believe they are freer than ever before. You can choose your career. You can buy whatever you want. You can say what you think. You can pursue happiness. But if that's true, then why do so many people feel trapped? Why do so many wake up every morning dreading their jobs, their obligations, their endless responsibilities? Why do we distract ourselves with entertainment, social media, and meaningless consumption only to feel more lost than before? Why does society keep selling us happiness, yet so few people actually have it? Because modern society is not designed to make you free. It is designed to make you obedient, not through force, not through violence, but through control so subtle that you do not even realize you are being controlled. A control that dictates what you should value: money, status, external validation. What success looks like: a stable job, material possessions, climbing the social ladder. What you should fear: failure, rejection, being different. What your life should be: work hard, obey the system, never question too much. And the most brilliant part of this system, it makes you believe that you are choosing it, that working endlessly for things you don't need is responsibility, that chasing external validation is success, that constantly distracting yourself is enjoying life. But in reality, it is a prison, the chains you cannot see. Think about it. If you work just to afford things that society convinced you to want, but that never truly fulfill you, are you really free? If you fear breaking from the norm, not because it's wrong, but because of how others will judge you, are you really thinking for yourself? If your attention is constantly being hijacked by advertisements, social media, and entertainment, who is really in control of your mind? The truth is, modern society does not need to lock you up physically. It has done something far more effective. It has programmed you, from childhood, to love your own captivity, to work endlessly, chasing an illusion of happiness that never arrives, to measure your worth by productivity and external validation, to stay within the lines, never questioning why the system is the way it is. Because the moment you start asking questions, the illusion begins to crack, breaking the illusion. Here is the question you must ask yourself. Is this life truly yours? Or has it been shaped, molded, and dictated by forces beyond your control? If you were never taught that you need a respectable job, a house, a retirement plan, endless possessions, would you still want them? If you had no fear of judgment, of failure, of rejection, what would you actually do with your life? The real prison is not the world around you. It is the world inside your mind. And the moment you recognize it, the moment you see the bars for what they are, you hold the key to your own escape. But the question is, will you use it? How society conditions you to stay blind. Imagine being born inside a vast, invisible prison. A prison where the bars are not made of steel, but of beliefs, expectations, and fears, placed there before you were old enough to question them. As a child, you were full of curiosity. You asked why things were the way they were. You explored, you played, you dreamed without limits. But little by little, the world taught you the rules. It told you what to believe, value, and pursue. It showed you what was acceptable and what was forbidden. And so, without realizing it, you stopped questioning. By the time you reached adulthood, you didn't even need the prison anymore, because the bars were now inside your own mind. This is how modern society controls you, not through force, not through physical oppression, but through conditioning. A conditioning so deep, so subtle, that most people go their entire lives without seeing it. Step 1. The social machine and the death of individual thought. From the moment you are born, society begins shaping you to fit the machine. School teaches obedience. Sit still. Memorize. Follow instructions. Conform to the system. Questioning is punished. Obedience is rewarded. Media programs your desires. You are bombarded with messages telling you what a successful life looks like. Money, status, possessions. Social pressure keeps you in line. Your peers reinforce the same ideas. If you stray too far from the norm, you face judgment, ridicule, rejection. And just like that, society builds the perfect worker, the perfect consumer, the perfect prisoner. A person who does not need bars to stay inside the system, because the fear of stepping outside is enough to keep them trapped forever. Step 2. The illusion of choice. How you are given the freedom to obey one of the most effective ways society keeps you under control is by giving you the illusion of choice. Think about it. You can choose between thousands of jobs, but not whether you have to work to survive. You can vote for different leaders, but the system itself never changes. You can express your opinions online, but they are shaped by the information you are fed. Your choices exist within a controlled environment. And as long as you stay within that environment, you believe you are free. But real freedom is not about choosing between pre-approved options. Real freedom is about questioning the system itself. And that is what you are never taught to do. Step 3. The psychological traps that keep you obedient. Modern society has developed psychological mechanisms to ensure that you never challenge the system. Here's how. 1. The fear of failure and judgment. From a young age, you are conditioned to fear failure. Making mistakes is punished. Stepping outside of societal norms is met with ridicule. Want to quit a high-paying job to pursue something meaningful? That's irresponsible. Want to question traditional success? You'll regret it when you're older. Want to live on your own terms? That's unrealistic. This fear keeps you in place, making you doubt yourself even when your instincts tell you something is wrong. 2. The distraction machine. The greatest trick modern society has played is turning entertainment into a weapon. Think about it. Every moment of silence, every gap in your day, every opportunity for deep thinking is filled with distractions. Endless scrolling, constant news cycles, mindless entertainment. You are never given the space to reflect, to question, to escape the mental programming that keeps you in line. And the system prefers it that way. 3. The normalization of suffering. Here's the final and most dangerous trap. You are taught that feeling trapped is normal. Feeling drained every day? That's just life. Hating your job? That's being an adult. Feeling anxious, lost, or empty? Everyone feels that way. By making suffering the default state of existence, society ensures that no one questions why it is this way. Because if everyone around you is just as miserable, how could you possibly believe there's another way to live? Step 4. Why most people will never escape. The hardest truth to accept is this: most people will never wake up. They will continue to chase illusions. They will follow the script that was written for them. They will live their entire lives within the prison without ever realizing it exists. Why? Because escaping requires pain. To break free, you must face the uncomfortable truth that you have been lied to your entire life. That your values, beliefs, and dreams may not even be yours. And that level of self-examination is something most people will never do, because it is easier to stay asleep than to wake up and realize you have been living in a dream. But those who do wake up, they will never see the world the same way again. The great question: will you see the truth? Now, you have a choice. You can dismiss this, continue life as usual, and pretend that everything is fine. Or you can start to see the system for what it is, because once you do, once you break through the illusion, you will begin to see the bars. And once you see the bars, you are no longer a prisoner. You are something else entirely. Something the system fears the most. Someone who can never be controlled again. The silent cost of an invisible prison. Most people live their entire lives without ever realizing they are trapped. They wake up, go to work, consume entertainment, obey the system, and tell themselves that this is just how life is. But just because you don't see the prison doesn't mean it isn't controlling you. And the price of that control? It is everywhere. It affects your mind. It shapes your relationships. It dictates how you think, feel, and experience the world. This is the true cost of living inside the invisible prison of modern society. And until you recognize it, you will pay for it every single day. The hidden damage to your mind. What happens when you spend your life inside a system that limits your thinking, your choices, and your beliefs? Your mind begins to weaken. Here's how. 1. Your ability to think for yourself dies from birth. You are trained not to think critically, but to obey. School does not teach you to question. It teaches you to memorize. Media does not give you knowledge. It gives you pre-approved opinions. Society does not want independent minds. It wants workers, followers, and consumers. And the longer you accept this conditioning, the harder it becomes to think for yourself. Most people never have an original thought in their lives because the system has already thought for them. 2. You become a slave to distraction. A mind that never questions is easier to control, and the best way to stop people from questioning is to keep them distracted. Modern society has perfected the art of distraction, mindless scrolling that eats away your time, constant entertainment that numbs your emotions, endless consumerism that keeps you chasing things that never fulfill you. You are kept in a state of low-level stimulation, never truly bored, but never truly thinking. Because a distracted mind is a powerless mind, and those in power want you powerless. 3. you lose the ability to feel deeply. Have you ever noticed how modern life feels empty? It's not that you don't experience happiness, sadness, or excitement. It's that everything feels shallow. Social media gives you instant dopamine. Movies and shows entertain you for hours. Shopping gives you temporary pleasure, but it never lasts, because you are being fed surface-level emotions designed to keep you consuming but never fulfilled. True meaning comes from depth of thought, depth of relationships, depth of purpose. But in a society that values speed, profit, and constant distraction, depth is a threat. And so, you are encouraged to live life on the surface, never diving deeper, never asking why. The destruction of human connection. The system does not just weaken your mind, it also destroys your relationships. Because when people are disconnected from themselves, they become disconnected from each other. You are taught to compete, not collaborate. You are encouraged to see others as rivals, not allies. You are rewarded for putting yourself first, even at the cost of others. And the result? A society full of lonely, isolated individuals. People who live behind screens instead of forming real human bonds. People who are surrounded by others but feel utterly alone. People who are constantly performing a version of themselves, afraid to show who they truly are. Because when human beings do not trust each other, they are easier to divide. And divided people are easier to control. You are owned, even if you think you're not. One of the greatest illusions of modern society is the belief that you are in control of your own life. But look deeper. Who really benefits from the way you live? Who profits from you working 40+ hours a week? Who benefits when you drown yourself in entertainment instead of questioning the system? Who gains power when people are divided, distracted, and too exhausted to fight back? The answer is simple. The system itself. You are not just a person. You are a product, a consumer, a worker, a resource. Your time, your energy, your attention, they are all being harvested to fuel a machine that does not care about you. And the more you obey without question, the more you feed the very system that keeps you trapped. Most people will never escape. Here's the cold, hard truth. Most people will never break free. They will continue working jobs they hate. They will continue chasing things that will never fulfill them. They will continue numbing themselves with entertainment, social media, and distractions. And they will never ask why, because asking why is the first step toward waking up. And waking up is painful, because once you see the prison, you can never unsee it. You will see the lies. You will see the manipulation. You will see how much of your life was never really yours. And that is a terrifying realization. That is why most people choose to stay asleep, because ignorance is easier than truth. The turning point. What happens when you finally see? But for those who do wake up, something incredible happens. At first, there is anger. You feel betrayed, manipulated, deceived. Then comes the grief. You mourn the years wasted chasing things that never mattered. And finally, there is freedom. Because once you see the prison for what it is, you gain something that most people never will. Choice. The choice to live differently. The choice to stop feeding the system. The choice to reclaim your time, your mind, your purpose. And most importantly, the choice to never be controlled again. Will you stay in the cage or walk away? Now, you have a decision to make. You can dismiss this, tell yourself that life is just the way it is, and go back to sleep. Or you can start to question, start to see, start to wake up. Because once you realize the truth, there is no turning back. And once you escape the invisible prison, you will wonder how you ever lived inside it. Because real freedom was never given to you. It was something you had to take for yourself the moment you decide to escape. Imagine this. One day, you wake up and everything looks the same. Your job, your routine, your obligations. But something inside you has changed. You no longer see the world as you did before. The illusion has cracked, and now, for the first time, you see the bars of the prison. You realize that your life has not been fully yours, that your thoughts, your desires, your very sense of self have been shaped by forces beyond your control. You feel anger. You feel betrayal. You feel a burning urge to break free. But how? How do you escape a prison without walls? How do you reclaim a mind that has been conditioned since childhood? The answer is simple, but not easy. It begins with rebellion. Not rebellion in the streets, not violence, but a rebellion of the mind. A silent war against everything that has kept you in chains. And the first battle begins right now. Step 1. Break the mental chains. Your first and greatest enemy is your own conditioning. For years, maybe even decades, you have been trained to accept this system as normal. To believe that working endlessly for survival is just how life is. To fear stepping outside the lines. To measure your worth by money, status, and productivity. And so, the first step is to destroy these beliefs. Challenge the rules. Who told you that life must be this way? Who decided that success is defined by a job title and a paycheck? Who convinced you that you must always follow the path laid out for you? Question your own desires. Many of the things you chase, possessions, status, approval, are not even yours. They were programmed into you by advertising, culture, and social pressure. Ask yourself, would you still want these things if nobody was watching? If society had never told you what to value, what would you truly desire? Reclaim your attention. The system survives by controlling your mind. It keeps you distracted, overstimulated, addicted to short-term dopamine. If you want to break free, you must take back control of your focus. That means checkmark, less mindless scrolling, checkmark, less passive consumption, checkmark, more deep thinking and reflection. Your mind is your most powerful weapon, and it's time to stop letting the system control it. Step 2. Escape the cycle of endless work. One of the most effective ways modern society traps you is by making you dependent on the system for survival. You must work to afford food, housing, healthcare. You must work harder to afford the things you've been convinced will make you happy. And just when you think you have enough, the system moves the goalpost. So how do you break free? Lower your dependence on the system. The more you need, the more you are controlled. The key to freedom is reducing your dependency on materialism and debt. That means checkmark escaping consumerism. Stop buying things to impress others. Cutting unnecessary expenses. The less you need, the less you owe. Investing in self-sufficiency. Building skills, not just relying on jobs. Find ways to work on your own terms. If you are trapped in a job that drains you, the system owns your time. But there are ways to take back control. Create multiple income streams, so no single job dictates your life. Work towards financial independence, so you are not enslaved to endless labor. Shift towards work that aligns with your values, so your time is spent living, not just surviving. Because the harsh truth is, if you are too busy working, you will never have time to think. And that is exactly what the system wants. Step 3. Reject the distraction machine. Modern society keeps you mentally enslaved through constant entertainment and noise. Everything is designed to keep you too distracted to question, too overstimulated to think deeply, too exhausted to fight back. The solution? Disconnect from the distraction economy. Stop giving your attention to things that weaken your mind. That means checkmark limiting social media consumption so your thoughts are your own. Consuming content intentionally, not just passively scrolling. Creating more than you consume. Using your mind instead of numbing it. Reclaim your mental energy. Start filling your time with things that actually build you. Read books that challenge your thinking. Engage in real-world conversations, not just online debates. Spend time in solitude so you can hear your own thoughts. Because the greatest power you have in this world is your ability to think freely. And the system fears nothing more than a mind that cannot be controlled. Step 4. Find your true purpose. The final step to escaping the invisible prison is to replace the system's purpose with your own. For too long, you have been told, work hard to be successful. Make money to be happy. Follow the rules to be accepted. But none of these things lead to real fulfillment. Define your own version of success. Ask yourself, what do I truly want out of life? What makes me feel alive? What impact do I want to have in this world? Live on your own terms. Real freedom is not just about breaking free from control. It's about choosing your own path. That might mean checkmark building something of your own instead of being just a worker. Living with less stress and more meaning instead of chasing endless success. Defining success by fulfillment, not by money or status. Because in the end, freedom is not something given to you. It is something you create. Most will stay trapped, but you don't have to. Here's the truth. Most people will never escape. They will keep running the same race. They will keep obeying without question. They will keep living in the illusion, because escaping requires courage. Courage to question everything. Courage to stand alone. Courage to leave behind the comfort of fitting in. But for those who do, for those who see the bars, break the chains, and reclaim their lives, everything changes. Because once you escape the invisible prison, you will never go back. You will never be controlled again. The prison was never real. But the chains were. You were never locked inside a cell. You were never held down by physical force. Yet for years, maybe even decades, you lived inside a prison you could not see. A prison built from beliefs, expectations, fears, and distractions, crafted so carefully that you never thought to question it. And the greatest trick of all? It made you believe you were free. But now, you see the illusion for what it is. Now, you stand at a crossroads, and there is one final truth you must face. One that will change everything. You were the prisoner and the guard. At some point, the system no longer needed to force you into obedience, because you started enforcing it on yourself. Think about it. Nobody forced you to seek external validation. Yet, you measured your worth by how others saw you. Nobody made you stay in a job you hated. Yet, you told yourself you had to. Nobody locked you in a cycle of consumption. Yet, you convinced yourself that buying more would make you happy. Yes, the system conditioned you. Yes, you were manipulated from birth. But once you became an adult, you were the one keeping yourself in chains. You were choosing to obey. You were choosing to play by the rules. You were choosing to remain inside the illusion. And that is the hardest truth of all. Because if you accept that you were the prisoner and the guard, then you must also accept that only you can set yourself free. Freedom was never about escape. It was about awakening. You could leave everything behind right now, quit your job, move to a new country, cut off all connections to society. But would that make you free? Or would you just be running? Because here's the truth. Freedom is not about escaping the system. It is about no longer being controlled by it. The world will still exist. Society will still function as it always has. But you will no longer be a pawn in its game. The signs that you are truly free. You will know you are truly free when you no longer seek validation. You do not care about approval. You do not fear judgment. You live for yourself, not for the opinions of others. You are no longer ruled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping outside the norm. These things no longer hold power over you. You understand the system, but refuse to be owned by it. You see how society works. You may still participate in it, but on your own terms. You own your time, your thoughts, your desires. Your mind is yours. Your time is yours. Your actions are yours. And when that happens, society can no longer control you. The final test. Can you handle the truth? Freedom sounds beautiful until you realize what it actually means. Because when you are free, you can no longer blame anyone else. You can no longer make excuses. You can no longer hide behind the system. Most people do not want freedom. They want comfort. They want certainty. They want a world where someone else tells them what to do. That is why the majority will stay in the prison. Because stepping outside means taking full responsibility for your life. And most people are too afraid to do that. Your choice. Will you walk away or stay inside? You have now seen the truth. You can never unsee it. But knowing the truth is not enough. Because freedom is not something given to you. It is not something you can ask for. It is something you take. And taking it requires courage. The courage to reject the system's lies. The courage to define success on your own terms. The courage to take control of your mind, your time, and your life. And the courage to understand that nobody is coming to save you. It is all up to you. The world will stay the same, but you will not. Tomorrow, society will function just as it always has. People will go to work, follow orders, obey the rules, never questioning why. The distractions will continue. The programming will continue. The illusion will remain intact. But you are no longer part of it. Because now, you see the bars. And the moment you see the bars, you have already begun to escape. Because real freedom is not about leaving the prison. It is about realizing that it was never real to begin with. And once you understand that, you are free forever. Your final decision. Accept the illusion or break the chains. Now, you have a choice. You can go back to sleep, pretend you never heard this, and return to the comfort of the system. Or, you can take the first step toward true freedom. Reclaim your mind. Take back your time. Live on your own terms. Because in the end, the prison was never holding you. You were holding on to the prison. And the moment you let go, you become unstoppable.